Morning. I guess we should probably start at the beginning and ask sort of where the idea first came from.
Well, thanks for having us, Kat. Well, basically, I mean, the origin of the idea sort of came at its simplest form when I thought it'd be quite an interesting dynamic to have two parents who genetically engineer their own child. That was sort of it in its simplest form way back. And then obviously from there, it just sort of grew and grew. The more I researched into it, the more of an understanding I had of sort of editing embryos and that sort of thing. And that, around about the same time that I was writing, I got into, because I'm quite into my food as well. So I kind of, started reading about lab grown meat and like cell culture, and it was just sort of starting to emerge on the market. And I mean, for me, I've just found some sort of parallels between synthetic meat and you know, the synthetic technology for engineering meat, as well as the editing embryos and things like that. So so I kind of just sort of merged those, blended those ideas. You know, when you're writing, you tend to go down different rabbit holes, and some of them can be useful, some of them just take you nowhere. But these two ideas sort of seem to come together nicely, and then yeah, so from there I just sort of took the I thought it'd be an interesting sort of moral dynamic between two parents who are conflicted over whether, I thought it'd be interesting to have one of them sort of opposing it and one of them wanting to use the technology. And then it just sort of it just kind of like, it just grew from there really, and developed over the past couple of years. And then I mean, that's the general sort of gist of how the idea sort of emerged, I guess. Yeah.
And as actors, when you got this script, what was it that about these characters that intrigued you all and made you quite excited to get involved with this story?
Well, for me, I just thought the script was extremely well put together. As actors, we often get scripts that are very, very good in terms of their ideas, but in terms of the way they're written and actually put on the page, they're not very interesting. The idea is interesting, but the actual writing is not great. And I thought Tariq's writing was extremely good. And that's what interested me, and I thought all of the characters were very well drawn.
Yeah, I think for Nicholas's role, it's the moral dilemma that he faces and his unflinching sense of hope that he completely signs up to, but that is a very cruel and double-edged sword for him, which rather leads to a very dark obsession, and in the end to tragedy in and of itself. So the character was for me was like it was very much a wonderful challenge to have as an actor, and I think that's what you want when you pick up the script and you're kind of looking for the meat and veg in it. So the layers and the depths were all there because it was wonderfully executed. So just echoing what Bosco said, all the characters were incredibly well drawn. So you have that, and the idea itself was a real box ticker as well. It was intriguing.
And well, I agree with everything that's already been said. It was a very unusual, complex script, and it was exciting to be in it, not exactly from the beginning as far as Tariq was concerned, but to watch the whole process of the changes evolve. And certainly for me, it was a challenge because I hadn't done very much in the previous years. And so I saw it as a bit of a comeback in the genre, which I am best known for, whether I liked that in the past or not. But anyway, that's the case. And that's fine. And I saw it as a very intelligent piece. And my particular role as Doctor Abner, which I think I'm allowed to say this, began as written for a man. And so that changed over the course of things. And think that works very well to give the piece a bit more equilibrium, perhaps. And she was such fun to play because she's really quite something. And I thoroughly enjoyed exploring her complexities, I don't want to give away too much, so I'm not going to say very much more on that. But anyway, she was a challenge, as Johnny said, and the whole thing was incredibly enjoyable. And we didn't really, I think I can say this too on behalf of everybody, know quite where we were going with it, as it started off as a much shorter piece. It was very exciting. It still is.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that you say that the part of Dr. Abner was originally written for a man, because I think one of the really exciting things about Isaac is that it does shift those gender expectations. We've seen so many films of a mother, you know, being driven by her maternal urges, and, you know, she'll do anything and she'll ignore 1,001 red flags because she's got to save her child. But here it's the father in that position. So I feel that, you know, it's really interesting from that point of view. And I'm guessing, you know, for you, Johnny, that was a really interesting dynamic, because it's not something that we see men do. Men are fathers in stories, particularly in the horror and sci-fi genre, but they tend to be sort of disbelieving or off to the side. But here he is front and center.
Oh yeah, very much so. So with having that, and, you know, being a father myself and having that reference point as well, you kept continually asking yourself those questions through yourself and for the role of Nicholas as well. And that inversion or subversion of that fatherly role was just a refreshing and a different take on it. So as you were saying, normally the fathers just arrive as rescuers, and it tends to be a blueprint in a lot of, you know, within the horror genre as well. So to have the father steer these decisions that would be quite maternal in terms of maybe female decision making qualities was something very dynamic in the piece, I feel, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we had in mind in terms of going back and forth and exchanging ideas about the script and the character and why he was doing this and what made him want to do this, you know. So yeah.
And also, I mean, sorry, yeah, we try. I mean, in writing it and developing it with Johnny and stuff, the character, we were kind of talking about how it's often a father's sort of you know, sense of needing to provide for the family and things like that, and sort of the responsibility that men kind of put on themselves to do so, and which sort of led to the idea of, you know, the fact that it was a lot of blame because he had the genetic disease to pass it on. So I thought, you know, as a father-son thing, it might work, you know, with that sort of dynamic.
And I think I'm right in saying that this film was actually shot over a number of years. How was that for all of you, both in terms of reconnecting with your characters and sort of keeping that continuity?
That wasn't a problem for me. My section was done all in one piece essentially, so I didn't have that particular problem.
So there was a lot of mapping and a lot of beard dyeing as well for certain aspects of the film, particularly for the younger version of Nicholas, and a lot of matching of haircuts and planning the shooting schedule around, okay, are we doing the older Nicholas? Because once we finish that, we can't then suddenly remember a shot because older Nicholas would have got his hair cut. So there was an incredible amount of mapping on a practical level, but on an emotional level, there was a certain amount of like just sitting down and re-engaging with what has come before and where you were moving on into the next movement within the piece, and locating those emotional beats that had to be arrived at. And that was great because there was a lot of space on the set because we shot with a small crew. So there was a lot of respect for that, just reconnecting with those moments, and a lot of time was given for actors to do that. So more power to Tariq and the rest of the gang behind the camera for allowing that sensitivity on set as well. just to get to those moments that needed to be within the piece, because there are a lot that go through it.
And I guess for me, what can I say? Yes, well, I was involved in various bits, kind of at the beginning and at the end, but I was nevertheless kept very much informed with the development. And I really believed in this project and this script. And in fact, I was the first person to mention it to Bosco, because I thought he would be so brilliant in the role. And I was kind of, unfortunately, to begin with, he wasn't available, so we thought it wasn't going to be possible. But in the end, the planets lined up and he was available at the right time.
Thankfully, and for which I'm very grateful, because I think it's a super project, and I'm really, really proud to be part of it.
Oh, that's so exciting! That's really wonderful. Well, my intuition told me that you would be absolutely wonderful in the part, and I was right, and everything came to take place. But as far as I was concerned, I think the character was just so. Dr. Abner was so interesting to play that I was absolutely thrilled that the piece was developed into a longer project, and that I could come back. As far as dyeing and hair and all that, my role took place in 2 different eras, really. So it was a question of costume, and luckily I didn't cut my hair in the meantime, so it all came to fruition.
Can I just say that I think the film looks terrific. I think it's been shot beautifully, and I think the music is wonderful. So, congratulations to all of the crew who were involved in making this piece, because very often they're kind of forgotten. We get to talk to people such as yourself, and they don't, but they deserve enormous credit for this. I think it looks terrific.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, it was a real collaboration, actually. Yeah, completely.
You could feel that while you were doing it. This young crew, as far as I was concerned, was so passionate about what they were doing. They would have gone to any length, and they did, to achieve it. And it really wasn't easy. And as far as I was concerned, the first difficulty was, as I was coming from France, COVID hit France a few weeks earlier than it hit Britain, and I got justly extremely worried about going at all. And my local chemist said to me at the time, because there were no masks and nothing like that, that if I'd been part of his family, he would have forbidden me to go. And I rang various people and was told, well, you absolutely have to come, because otherwise the project will not probably take place, because the small amount of money that there was wouldn't last. And so I just sort of took my courage, and it needed some courage, believe me, because it was I got back a week before France went into total lockdown. And of course, then I thought the project was over. But anyway, we crossed through COVID, came out the other side, more or less. And I went back to do the rest.
Yeah, it was quite bizarre, really.
It was touch and go as to whether it just actually started in the beginning with all of those difficulties.
Exactly, yeah, and it was. I know we're sort of deviating off the previous question, but it was kind of, we had that tiny little window, it felt, to capture the first block of filming, because just a week before because we were shooting in the middle of nowhere as well in Herefordshire, and the whole kind of all the fields, there were loads of flash floods and really heavy rain, and we wouldn't have been able to get anyone up there. But then, and then thankfully we had like a week window to capture everything, and then literally a couple of days after Catriona went back home, everything was in lockdown, and so I spent the whole of lockdown editing what we had. So we were just very, very lucky, I think, to capture it.
So it's kind of a bit of a miracle project all round, in fact, and it's terrific. So there's some sense in that.
And it's going to be screening at FrightFest, sort of just in the wake of the Channel 4 documentary, the Greg Wallace British Miracle Meet. I don't know if any of you have watched it yet, but there's really parallels between the two. Do you hope that maybe people might sort of be seeking out Isaac who've kind of enjoyed that documentary?
I'm actually unaware of that documentary. but potentially, yeah. I think it's a technology that's going to be emerging very quickly, and I remember reading about it when I first started writing the script, and it was all very new, and it felt kind of really science fiction, but now it's going to be on our shelves, I think, before we know it.
Kat, what's the premise of the documentary? I've missed it. I'm really intrigued now.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
So it's a documentary where Greg Wallace is investigating a brand new miracle meat that's going to end hunger, but also help the socioeconomics by paying people to have cells from themselves harvested and to grow synthetic meat from humans. So
That's amazing.
That's great.
Well, it's our feature film is certainly echoing a lot of that. Tracking that down straight away. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Sounds like a collaboration, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Good timing.
Maybe they had an early version of the script or something, and there's something in this.
Did he do a day's work on set?
Yeah.
Can't remember. We need to look at
Was he the
roster.
chef? Was he the chef that you guys had in? Was he the caterer? But speaking of FrightFest, Johnny, you've got I think the last couple of years you've screened several films there. I mean, last August you had Walking Against the Rain, then you had Freeze in Halloween, and you've got Isaac and How to Kill Monsters this year. What is it about this festival that you enjoy, and bringing these films to this festival?
Well, FrightFest and as I affectionately call the four horsemen who run it and who surround them as well by bringing the festival in, is something I absolutely adore, and I love going the full Thursday to Monday. And there's been 1 or 2 years where I haven't had work in it, but I will still do the full pass just to gorge essentially on as much new and curated horror. And in particular, I'm a massive fan of The First Blood Strain, which Isaac is in. And I've been watching those for, I think it's coming on to 8 or 9 years now. First Blood is going, which is brilliant. And I think it's a brilliant endorsement that you have first-time horror directors being put in on a platform like FrightFest, which is the biggest in the UK for genre and sci-fi. And I adore the curation in it, love the guys who run it. But and I've said this before, I love the community aspect of FrightFest, whereby you freely mix with the directors whose work you might have followed, or actors who maybe come over from the States or Europe. So you're able to engage. There's no VIP area or kind of red carpeted area where the fans are not allowed. So it's a very embracing festival. I think, but by way of the horror festival and sci-fi festivals, you tend to get that a lot in Europe and the US, and it's for me, I think that's a great thing in terms of the engagement level that people have who like and who love that who love genre. But yeah, it's look, it might not happen for another few years, but it is I'm very happy to report it's a bumper edition, and there's 2 shorts in the mix as well that I also will mention. So 4 pieces. It probably won't ever happen again, but I'm very happy that it's happening this year.
Yeah, and I think last year's Walking Against the Rain did really well. Executive produced, Isaac is executive produced by Scott. That film's gone on to recently get American distribution. Are you hoping that Isaac can follow in that footsteps and get the same sort of success?
Certainly, yes. We're reaching out to people at the moment, and some distributors have already got in contact with us as well. So screeners have been sent off. So yes, certainly with Scott and Crossroads Pictures, which I'm part of as well, and exec produced along with Scott. It was phenomenal, the success that Walking Against the Rain got in terms of the sellout show at the Prince Charles too. So, but yeah, Scott is brilliant. He's a fantastic executive producer. He lives and breathes horror and genre all day long. So it was amazing to get him on board for Isaac. He's brilliant. Yeah.
And Catriona, you know, you said before we started recording that you haven't seen the film yet. You're saving it for the FrightFest debut. How are you feeling about, you know, going to the premiere and suddenly seeing this film blasted up? Because it's a big screen that you're going to be showing in.
Right. Well, I wanted to see it. Thought as I have the opportunity, I might as well see it in the best possible conditions. And I'm very excited. Ironically, I've never been to FrightFest before, so it seems like the best way to go to FrightFest with a film such as Isaac that we all believe in so much and have done since the beginning. So it's a really exciting moment. I'm thrilled. I'm sorry Bosco can't be with us. He'll be the only one that won't be there, but that's the nature.
It's a great shame. Yeah, I'd love to be with you all for that.
Yes. So we'll see. We don't know how people are going to take it, but it sounds like it might go well from what Bosco's just said. So I will take it as it comes, so to speak.
And Tariq, as a director, how are you feeling about the whole process?
Well, I was there last year actually to see Walking Against the Rain, and yeah, it just got us even more excited about potentially being there next year as well. And it was, you know, it played really well in front of the audience. But yeah, I'm kind of nervous, as you'd imagine. I haven't really screened to a big audience like that before, or in a theatre. But at the same time, we're just going to savor it all really, and we're all, like the whole team and I, are really grateful that we actually have an opportunity to reach an audience and have a platform like FrightFest to show it.
And I guess sort of my final question, as FrightFest pass holders are deciding what they're going to watch, because I think at any time there's like 3 or 4 films playing, why do each of you think that those pass holders should take a chance on Isaac? What are they going to get from this film that they might not get from something else at screening?
Well, I think they're going to get something they're not quite expecting, something that's going to kind of make them work as well as an audience, to use their imagination, to invite them to sort of participate in the film itself. And I'm hoping it's you know, a bit of an intriguing current story that might resonate with people.
That's it. They will be intrigued and they will be entertained.
For me, I think it would be to come along and support the First Blood strain, because it's delivered every year, with some of the work that gets selected, and I think the filmmaking that happens every year at FrightFest within that strain, it's this evolution of ideas and scripts and concepts and the way things are shot, particularly with the technology that's available now to bring in a feature film. So I would say that, and that it's a very fallible, as in humans and their fallible choices type of story housed within a horror genre construct. So I think they'll have a lot to take away from it.
And I would just like to add that we obviously believe thoroughly in this project, and we hope that this world premiere is going to create a buzz. And I think, you know, people like being part of that, and just hope they all come. Yes, go and buy your tickets now. Yes.
Well, I wish you guys the best of luck with the screening.
Thank
you very much.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us. Cheers.